What happens when a cartel wired into Chicago's freight terminals, rail yards, and trucking lanes suddenly loses 600 members overnight? The answer isn't peace, it's gravity. Power rushes to the empty space. Operation Steel Flood mapped 2,000 targets, drug rooms, weapons depots, stash houses, and hit 20 locations at once. Next, who moves in when the command nodes go dark? We'll track the immediate effects, cash-counting gear, and encrypted devices boxed up into the long-term consequences. Rival networks probing the warehouse corridors, federal agents planning a sustained presence, and the community investments needed to keep the vacuum from becoming a battlefield. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. On the digital wall, 2,000 red pins glowed. 2 blinked out first. Both sat in the trucking district, warehouses with reinforced doors and a habit of running lights at odd hours. Inside, agents found more than pallets and forklifts. A fortified room doubled as a command cell, with freight route maps taped edge to edge and encrypted tablets laid out like a dispatch desk. Racks held rifles wrapped in oilcloth, cereals shaved down to bare steel. The air smelled like solvent and cordite, and in a corner, a cash counter dusted white showed what kind of traffic moved through here. Operation Steel Flood moved on a clock. Teams stacked at 4:45 a.m. Armored vehicles in low idle near rail spurs and river lots. Helicopters orbited high and slow to mask the rotor noise in city drone. At 4:58, a SWAT element hit the first door and took fire from trained shooters posted behind a forklift. By 5:02, simultaneous breaches were underway at weapons depots, drug rooms, and stash houses. Each node had a team, each team had a list, and every list had a chain of custody form waiting in an evidence van. Officials called it a clean sweep. On the ground, the method raised questions. Some buildings saw door-to-door sweeps and rapid entries, with no public warrant filings in the hours that followed. Residents in nearby apartments said helicopters hung over rooftops and agents used zip ties in hallways while they moved unit to unit. In one stairwell, fresh boot prints mixed with plastic cufftails and spent beanbag rounds. The targets formed a logistic spine. Freight terminals tied to rail yards fed into trucking lanes that push east and north. 2 suspected command warehouses sat near junctions where yard gates meet interstate on-ramps. Security cameras faced inward, not out. Inside, ledgers listed routing codes and box numbers like a second language. Drawer bins held SIM cards, and a spiral with carrier handoffs scribbled in block letters. A rack of boxed rifle parts traced back through straw buyers matched the upper receivers missing from a separate pallet in another building. Seizures went deep. Agents rolled out cash-counting machines dusted with meth residue. They bagged encrypted phones with rotating key schedules that flipped every 12 hours. Forklifts bore bullet scars from the first minutes of contact. A tablet cache linked to an icon set used by the same crew across the border. Stacked near the command wall, 3 hard cases held rifles ATF later tied to prior seizures in international conflict zones. A signal that the weapons pipeline ran both directions. Chemists from the DEA went to work on the narcotics, marking high-purity batches as Zetas grade and matching them to Superlab signatures across the border. Ballistics teams scraped microtooling marks and fed casings into national databases. By week's end, prosecutors laid an interstate map on the table. Shipping manifests linked Chicago to Michigan, Wisconsin, and Ohio. Burner phone clusters showed couriers pausing at the same highway exits. Courier logs noted counter-surveillance, doublebacks under bridges, fuel stops with cameras disabled, a consistent habit of midnight offloads at underlit spurs. The public split followed fast. Officials touted the largest takedown in recent memory. Civil liberties groups flagged overreach. Residents described aggressive tactics, early morning flashes in common areas, and units searched while infants slept. The evidence line kept growing anyway. Agents filled crates with ledgers, rifles, tablets, and phones. Prosecutors stacked charges: narcotics conspiracy, firearms trafficking, money laundering, violent crimes, racketeering. Mandatory minimums stared back from the case files. For some linked to the weapons flow, life in prison was on the table. In the end, those warehouses stopped being crime scenes and became a roadmap. Each ledger entry matched a truck, each phone ping matched a handoff, each rifle mark matched a border story. The pins turned grey on the map, but the empty space they left behind started pulling new actors in. The raid ends at 5 a.m. The power struggle starts at 5:01. The first to test the fences are the runners who know the backlots. They drive past the shuttered warehouses, count the parked trailers, and check which forklifts move. Then come the buyers with cash who float small offers to see if any loaders still answer. A third group calls from new numbers, asks for same lane, new ticket, and hangs up if anyone says hello too fast. Officials warn that removing a militarized tier creates a vacuum. They mean the guards, the dispatchers, the gun hands who kept the corridor controlled by force and fear. With them gone, smaller gangs and rival crews watch the warehouse strip. They post up near fuel islands and scale house exits, tracking checking which gates open on the hour and which stay locked. The test is simple. Can they move a pallet across 2 fences without tripping sensors or running into a task force van? 2 narratives collide in the days after. At podiums, leaders call it a decisive win. On the ground, data from high-profile immigrant raids show limited ties to major syndicates, and that gap feeds doubt. Families who saw neighbors detained without clear charges hesitate to pick up the phone when tip lines ask for help. Credibility bleeds fast when headlines and door knocks do not match. Short-term shifts appear within hours. Couriers go to ground. Spotters who used to sit in cars near freight choke points vanish. Encrypted channels go quiet, then flicker back with new keys and shorter message windows. A week ago, messages sat for an hour. Now they self-delete in 5 minutes. Meet points move from bright truck stops to side streets with broken cameras. Fuel receipts drop off the normal routes, which tells its own story. Adaptive threats follow a pattern. Microcells break the chain into small bites. They use short-haul trucks to hop freight from yard edges to suburban lots. Shell brokers post fake loads on bidding boards to mask handoffs. Off-hour rail transfers pop up between 2 and 4 a.m. Outside the usual interdiction window, the product flows in fragments, 5 kilos hidden in compressor crates, 10 tucked into pallet voids, never enough in one place to trigger a single big seizure. The community feels the wobble. Residents living along the spurs report unfamiliar vehicles idling at odd times and new faces asking about storage lockers. Some families are pulled into detention and do not return that week, leaving relatives scrambling for childcare and rent. Rumours of rival crews moving in circle around rail yards and trucking lots, and that chatter keeps store owners closing early. Fear is a force multiplier here. Policy shifts try to catch the fragments. Federal presence stays in the corridor. Task forces embed with local police units, ride along on code enforcement, and increase inspections at freight terminals. Portable license plate readers set up near yard gates. Intelligence cells stand up to track Reconstitution, scraping load boards, cross-checking burner clusters, and mapping which off-ramps see repeated short stops at night. Prevention work starts in parallel. Youth programs extend hours, adding paid internships tied to certified logistics training. Re-entry teams line up union apprenticeships for returning citizens as drivers, pallet techs, and yard marshals. Warehouses with labor gaps start hiring pipelines that run background-friendly roles with clear promotion paths. The aim is simple: absorb the labor pool cartels try to recruit. The payoff is sober. Long-term safety is not automatic. It takes steady pressure and visible investment, or the corridors relapse into the same trade under new managers. The evidence rooms are full, the streets are not. The next move is about time, not spectacle, and how long that vacuum can be kept from collapsing inward. Pins fade fast, new ones appear faster. The future of these corridors rests on who fills those gaps first and who keeps them honest.